You are about to enter another dimension, a journey into a wondrous land whose only boundaries are that of your own imagination. Your next stop, Ribbon, Flowers and Adornments. Seriously though, ribbon flowers can be thoroughly habit-forming. This blog post and the YouTube video were created as a companion to a July 2024 class, which included a kit for each of the 6 ribbon flowers and adornments. But I'm making this available as a standalone tutorial for everyone who wants to join me on this beautiful and incredible journey. The Metropolitan Museum of Art carries an exhibit of hair ribbons dated 2600 to 2500 BCE. Ribbons were manufactured in France as early as the 11th century, and ribbons with finished edges, as we have today, came into being around 1500. Ribbons were so popular that the 16th century English Parliament tried to enact laws limiting the wearing of ribbons only to nobility. Ribbon adornment reached a high art in the form of dress adornment in the 17th and especially the 18th centuries. Both men's and women's clothing were adorned with yards of trims and flowers. All would have been handmade and removed and reused on new garments and hats. Ribbon flowers and adornments continue to please us through their use during the Victorian era and through today's films and fantasy. Lady Mary, in the Downton Abbey series, can change a simple black dress with a simple change of her flower. Resources for learning to make ribbon flowers can be found in print and video. The 5 books I've used to learn include Ribbon Flowers, Timothy Wright and Nicholas Neal. The Artful Ribbon by Candace Kling. The Secrets of Fashioning Ribbon Flowers by Helen Gibb. Romancing Ribbons into Flowers by Ellie Seinkowitz. And Ribbon Art, 1920s ebook, offered by Mrs. Depew on Etsy. While the questions always arise as to where to gather ribbons and supplies, I can honestly say I have no one special source. There are times when I find beautiful ribbon at estate sales and flea markets. Other times I find ribbon at craft stores. The supplies for the class kits provided to students are gathered from many different sources and include everything from polyester ribbon to French taffeta. While gathering supplies, I also began writing instructions and drawing illustrations. Polyester ribbon is readily available and, of course, less expensive than the taffetas or silks, but needs to be sealed to prevent fraying. This can be done by lightly moving the ribbon edge over a flame. Ribbon cutters can be purchased. If you find you have many yards of ribbon to cut and seal, the ribbon cutter is a great investment. Finally, all ribbons are cut, the edges of unwired ribbons sealed, the instructions copied, and the supplies ready to create the class kits. Just one more practical tip. Fortunately, I found the ribbon colors I needed for these 6 kits. Often I will have white polyester ribbon on hand in the sizes I use most: 5/8 inch, 1 inch, 1.5 inch, and 2.5 inches, and usually wired so that I can remove the wires as necessary. And I will use fabric paints to create the color or ombre effect I desire. The fabric paint is used or diluted or mixed to the shade you want. The ribbon length is rolled and then dipped into the paint. The ribbon will quickly soak up the dye, so when you have your desired effect, remove the ribbon and immediately blot on paper towels to remove the excess and stop the dye process. Allow the ribbon to dry. Don't be afraid to experiment. Sometimes the riskiest dye trials yield the most beautiful flowers. For the students, I prepared the following kits, which included my info card so they could find my blog and YouTube channel for the information you are receiving here, and an event ribbon. Supplies for a gathered rose, basic leaf, Pansy, Gardenia, Tahitian Gardenia, pineapple, thread and clothespin, a yardage of pink and moss green ribbon, and painted kukui nuts. For those of you reading or watching this without a kit, the supplies and instructions will be listed in the following chapters, with a link to the video for those who prefer a demonstration. You're welcome to download the photo of the instructions in the blog post and save or print for a hard copy of the instructions. And share everything to your heart's content. I would love to see everyone enjoying ribbon flowers. There is no limit to the type of ribbon you can use to create a gathered rose as long as the ribbon is wired. In previous classes, students chose from an assortment of ribbons, and we created an amazing bouquet. Other examples for inspiration: royal purple polyester, black and red flocked, used on a Victorian natural form gown, turquoise metallic, white sheer sparkle, pink striped eyelash edge, striped sheer with a coordinating leaf, turquoise sheer with a satin edge ready for its final step, pink sheer with a white edge, and a pink polyester recreation for the Manet painting Spring. This is a favorite and has become the logo for my YouTube channel. The class kit included printed instructions with illustrations. This photo can be downloaded from the blog post to be saved or printed. The kit also included 2 yards of wired pink polyester ribbon and a needle. For different sizes of roses, these guidelines work well. 1/2 yard of 5/8 inch wired ribbon, 1 yard of 1 inch wired ribbon, 2 yards of 1.5 inch wired ribbon, which is what I used here, and 2.5 yards or more if your ribbon is 2 to 3 inches wide. I supplied milliner needles for all the kits. I use these needles, usually in size 9, as they are long and strong. Since we all learn differently, I've supplied written instructions and illustrations, and will touch on a few tips during class since I wanted to cover a lot of material in a short amount of time. For those who want a full demonstration of the gathered rose, I've recorded a video. The finished gathered rose with different leaves and placed on a black straw 1930s hat. While there are many leaf forms and many ribbon leaf techniques, I've found this basic leaf adaptable to many types of ribbon and many different flowers. The class kit contains instructions and illustrations. The class kits varied in ribbon supplies, but all contained enough to create 4 basic leaves in either a sheer green, a mint green, a dark moss with sparkle edge, an ombre, or a moss green, and a milliner needle. The lengths are 13.5 inch of 1.5 inch wide to create a large leaf. There is a companion demonstration YouTube video for the basic leaf. Other sizes for basic leaves include 6 inches of 5/8 inch wide for a small leaf, 9 inches of 1 inch wide for a medium leaf, and this 13.5 inches of 1.5 inch wide for a large leaf. Different ribbons yield very different looks and don't always need to be green. The basic leaf is also the bract of the poinsettia, and I used this to recreate the 1930s life-sized Barbie belt and hairpiece. Basic leaves and pansies were the first ribbon flowers I created. I was inspired by this Harper's Bazaar illustration and created leaves and pansies for everything I wore. Did I go to the extreme? Well, maybe, but who doesn't love flowers? Pansies can be gorgeous with a combination of colors for the back petals and front petals. Ombre and sheer ribbons create beautiful flowers. Another Harper's Bazaar illustration and hat recreation with ribbon flowers. The instructions and illustrations for creating a pansy, again, in the blog post, feel free to download to save or print. The supplies: 6 inches of 1 inch wide wired or unwired ribbon for the back 2-petal section, 10 inches of 1 inch wide wired or unwired ribbon for the front 3-petal section. Note: the purple French taffeta wired ribbon I chose for the front section was only available in a 7/8 inch width. I found 7/8 inch unwired poly satin in white for the back section, and these were included in the student kits. 6 stamens, backing, a needle. Note on the backing: this can be whatever you wish for supporting the finished pansy. Suggestions would be buckram, crinoline, net, or fabric pieces. I supplied a lace piece which provided a similar silhouette to the pansy. There is a companion demonstration YouTube video. The ribbon flower gardenia is a more complicated creation and one that I haven't taught before. It is created with two different techniques, one for the 5 outer petals and one for the 5 rolled inner petals. The separate techniques can be used in so many different ways. The technique for the outer petals of a gardenia can be used to create the outer 2 layers of a tea rose, and the technique for the inner petals of a gardenia can be used to create the inner layer of a tea rose. This tea rose was made with a white polyester wired ribbon dyed with fabric paint. The technique for the gardenia outer petals also creates the 4 bracts of the dogwood blossom. Here I've used white polyester wired ribbon and the same ribbon dyed pink with fabric paints. A dogwood blossom made with a brick-colored satin ribbon and paired with coordinating pansies on a 1920s hat. Photos of my instructions and illustrations for your use to download, to save, or print are on my blog. Supplies for a gardenia: 5 pieces of 1.5 inch wide by 2.5 inch long wired or unwired ribbon, 5 pieces of 1.5 inch wide by 3 inches long wired or unwired ribbon, a 4x4 piece of backing. I used a very stiff plastic net, a needle, and a corsage pin. There is a demonstration YouTube video. The personality of the gardenia changes with the selected leaf color. There are wonderful YouTube videos for creating ribbon flower leis. A favorite creator of mine is Mom's Little Things. This creator's video for a Tahitian gardenia seemed perfect to show the use of other materials with ribbons to create exciting texture. I wrote instructions from her video. The supplies for each Tahitian gardenia include 1 piece of 4-inch long dark moss green sparkle eyelash yarn in medium weight, 1 piece 6 inches long of 1/8 inch wide peach gold edge satin cut at an angle, and 7 pieces of 2¼ inch long 3/8 inch wide pink satin ribbon unwired, and a needle. In the class kit I provided were supplies to create 3 Tahitian gardenia flowers. I included 2 pieces of pink satin ribbon and 2 hand-painted kukui nuts to fashion a headband, necklace, choker, bracelet, or anklet. I've supplied the link to the video from Mom's Little Things on YouTube and the Etsy shop link. This is my completed 3-flower Tahitian gardenia with the ribbon ties and kukui nuts. I love all that texture and sparkle. Another YouTube creator of ribbon leis makes a very fun mini pineapple out of rickrack and weave-on ribbon, which I purchased from their website. I couldn't resist adding this fun creation to the students' supply kit. I'll share both their YouTube channel and website. I wrote the creator's instructions for a pineapple, and supplied the following for 1 pineapple: 1 piece of 14-inch long, 1/2 inch or 9mm gold rickrack. I used fray check on each end as my product frayed easily. 3 pieces of 3/16 inch wide weave-on light moss green, 3 to 3.5 inches tip to tip sharp angle cut. 3 pieces of 3/16 wide weave-on moss green, 3-inch to 3.5 inch tip to tip sharp angle cut, and a 5-inch doll needle. I supplied enough rickrack and ribbon for 3 pineapples. I also included a clothespin to hold the rickrack in place as the ribbons were being formed and placed. The 5-inch doll needle is long enough and strong enough to allow the pineapple base and then the ribbons to be created and slid down the thread in single pieces. A milliner needle would not work. A length of dark moss green ribbon was included to create a choker, bracelet, or anklet. I supplied 18-karat gold-plated nickel-free ear wires for those who might want to make earrings with their cute mini pineapples. And that is exactly what I did, and a necklace and earrings were my choice for my completed pineapples. I hope this tutorial and the accompanying videos get you started on this wonderful journey of ribbon flowers. Please ask any questions you have, and I will answer each and every one. There are several other ribbon flower techniques I would love to share in the future, and I will add them to the YouTube playlist under #ribbonflowers. Enjoy! Thank you so much for being here.